Welcome in. Come take a seat. What a beautiful rainy day it is today to be in the house of the Lord. I want to take a moment. This weekend I had the privilege of going to Thibodeau, and there was a women's conference there that Miss Paula spoke at, and she's not in here right now to hear this, but she did phenomenal. And if you don't know it, our pastor and first lady are literally the best people ever, and we are so spoiled. It's not even funny. So if you don't take the opportunity to come listen to her when she has her classes, you need to before we start charging, because she's going to be famous. It's just what it is. I'd say I'm kidding, but I'm really not. But I do want to say thank you, and that it is an honor to be up here in this position speaking. We don't take this lightly. I'm going to mostly look at the youth because it's my people who are here this morning. But I'm going to jump right in. I've got a question. Is it just me? Or maybe it's a Louisiana thing, but sometimes it rains for 2.5 seconds. Sometimes it rains for hours and days. Sometimes it's barely drizzling, okay? Like it's barely there. It's just there enough to annoy you. And then sometimes it's raining so bad you can't see anything. And like when you're driving, you have to trust the side of the road, which I'm a terrible driver to begin with. So with the rain and that, it's just not a great day. So my question is, does that happen to anyone else, or is that just me? Like, is the rain a problem? Like, some people love the rain. They're like, oh, let me sit here and enjoy this rain. And then I'm just like, oh my God, I got to drive in the rain. It's a terrible thought, which is something that happened this morning. Sometimes that's how your seasons in life may feel, like the rains of Louisiana. Sometimes you're going to have rains that last longer than others. You're going to have some more annoying than others. You're going to have some that you might enjoy, and you're going to have some where you just don't know what's going on. You're promised those seasons. Today, we're going to talk about a familiar story from the Bible. We're going to talk about a story from Mark. And if you know your Bible, you know that the book of Mark was written by the disciple Mark himself. And it was his representation of what happened with Jesus and his life story. But this particular story, though there were a lot of parables before this, was not a parable. This was a real life scenario that happened. So if the media could throw up Mark 4:35 through 41, awesome. On the same day when evening had come, he said to them, let us cross over to the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And they were also with him in little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was full now. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him, and they say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind, and he said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? And they feared exceedingly and said one to another, What manner is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Now, that's a lot of one tiny story, so we're going to break it apart a little bit. So, first and foremost, Jesus and the disciples were getting on a boat to get away from a multitude of people, to have an intimate moment. And my first point in notation is sometimes when you get intimate enough with God, you're going to go through some storms, okay? So if you want to love Jesus and you want to be with him, that's great, but you're promised some other things that you're going to go through. While the storm was happening, though, Jesus was taking a nap. He was like posted up in the back of the boat on a pillow. He brought a pillow with him. So he was like, don't worry about this, guys. I'm just going to sleep this one off. I'll see y'all on the other side. There's not a problem here. And in my opinion, like I'm visualizing this and I see this boat rocking around in the water and water is coming in. It said in the verse that water was filling the boat. You know he was getting slapped in the face with water, but yet he still slept. So was he that hard of a sleeper, or did he have enough trust? Like, what is the question there? What's happening? What is the purpose? Picture that, though. Picture 13 to 14 people on a small boat. I say small boat, it's probably the size of this platform, okay? So you've got 13 or 14 people freaking out on this boat because there's water and there's waves, and there's just one person, not in the front, in the back of the boat. He is the last one there, sleeping, okay? Out cold, done. So then the disciples are freaking out. They're frantic. They're like, oh my goodness, we're supposed to get there. We're supposed to go there. We're supposed to do this. But there's water and there's rain and there's things going on and I just don't know what to do. And they see God sleeping and they're like, oh my Jesus, get up. Why aren't you helping us? Like, don't you see we're in trouble right now? You're with me right now. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel this storm that we're in? So if you see that, if you feel that, if you can feel those emotions, you know, sometimes, just like they said, teacher, do you not care that we're perishing, that we're going to die? We ask questions as well. Jesus, don't you see or care that my child is sick? Jesus, don't you care that my marriage is failing? Lord, don't you care that my parents deserted me? Lord, do you care that I'm barely making ends meet? God, don't you care that I feel alone and I don't see you? God, don't you care that I am done? I want to give up. This is it. Lord, don't you care that my dad is having open heart surgery? Lord, do you care what I feel? And he's sleeping. He's laying here in silence, letting you feel the storm, letting you feel the waves hit you in the face. Why? There's got to be a purpose. In the story, Jesus wakes up, and I don't visualize him angry. I visualize him annoyed with the disciples, like, don't you trust me? And he gets up, and he looks at the storm, and he says, peace, be still. Peace, comma, be still. That's my title today. Peace, be still. I want peace, and I want my peace to be still. Without hesitation, the storm stopped. Without hesitation, not a second, not an eyelash was bashed. It was done. As soon as he uttered the words, peace, be still, the storm stopped. Then he looked at his disciples who have been following him, who have seen the miracles that he has done, witnessed them, prayed with him, had a relationship with him. And he says to them, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? In some versions it says, why do you still not have faith? Because I've done so much for you, with you, using you. You've seen, touched, felt, been around, and you still don't trust what I'm saying? You know, at that moment, that would be me in the chair, sulking, like pastor's preaching a sermon that's going straight to my heart, saying, oh my goodness, this is speaking to you. And I'm sulking in my chair, trying to get all 5'9" of me underneath on the floor so that no one sees that it's speaking to me. That's the moment that I feel these disciples are like, oh God, yes, we should have trusted you. Yes, and there's shame. But you know, God is not a God of shame. So I don't feel like he was trying to shame them. I think he was trying to recall some instances for them to build their faith upon. It wasn't shame on you for not trusting me. It was like, do you remember this? This is why you should trust me. Do you remember that moment? This is why you have that hope. But have you still no faith? Implicit in these words is a lesson that we need to learn. The disciples were so afraid because they were so used to being in control of their life. If you know me, if you've been in my lessons before, I like to be in control of what's happening. I like to have a plan. I like to follow the plan. I've got a plan A through Z so that when A doesn't work out, I know 26 letters later, I have another plan. I'm a plan. I've got a plan. And sometimes when it's not in your hands, when it's not in your control, you just don't know what to do. They knew how to handle situations. They knew how to help people and get them connected to God. They knew him. They knew him physically. They had a real life relationship with God. Yet their faith turned into fear because they forgot of what was going on. Jesus simply said to them, have you still no faith? And the answer can be yes and no. Yes, they had faith because obviously they got on the boat with him. No, they did not, because they were so scared when the waves were hitting them. They didn't know which emotion to feel and what to go with. So by their faith, though real and not full grown yet, how do you get the faith that enables you to survive the storms of life? Oh God, do you not know that I'm here and I'm feeling this moment? The storm that's hitting you in the face that you don't see him and you feel that he is sleeping in the boat. The only answer I know is to get in the boat. Get in the boat and ride with Jesus wherever he is going without any hesitation. No matter the emotions that you feel, no matter what's going on or what you see or you can foresee ahead of you. If Jesus says, get in the boat, I'm getting in the boat. I mean, there's another Bible story of a guy that should have gone to Nineveh who didn't get on the right boat, and then he got stuck in a fish. So I'm getting on the right boat with God. That's just what's happening. I don't want to go through the fish. I want to remind you that where there are no storms, there is no danger. Where there is no danger, there is no fear. Where there is no fear, there is no testing. And all of you know that I'm a teacher, or I was a teacher, and I love education. Where there is no testing, there is no learning. You're not learning something if you're not being tested. If you're not learning, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you can't have faith. That is the process. It is ugly and it hurts, but that is the process. What you go through, you will grow through. A shortened version of that can say, where there are no storms, there is no faith. Why do you need faith if there is not a storm to go through? Why do you need to trust something if there's not something wavering against you? No storms, no faith. Few storms, just a little faith. A lot of storms, you've got a lot of faith. A lot of storms, you get all the faith. You need all the faith. So when you ask that prayer or you say that prayer, teenagers, God, use me, you better get ready for him to use and abuse you. When you pray the prayer, God, take anything from my life that does not belong to you and use me, you better say that and trust what you're saying is what you really want with your life, because he will use you, because he loves you and he wants to. There are no shortcuts. There's no magic pill, no magic ride to get you around. There's not. There's construction that you have to sit through. There are moments that are desperation where you're like, God, I don't see you. How are you letting this happen to me? And he's like, okay, peace, be still. These things weren't meant to destroy you, and your storms weren't sent here just because he likes playing with your life. That's not what it is. Sometimes it feels like it could be cruel and mean, but it's not. That is not the person that God is. If you know him and you have a relationship with him, you know that that is false, and he loves you. In the moment, not before it, but in the moment, when the water seems to engulf you and you seem to have lost everything, in that moment, God arises and says, peace, be still. Peace, be still. Now, you know that I love teaching English, and you know that I love homophones, and that's a word that sounds the same, but spelt differently and sounds different, and means something different. So there is a homophone for the word steal. Steel can be also a steel as in like the things that make a building. So in a noun, steel is a hard, strong mixture of alloys used extensively as a structural and fabricating material. As a verb, which is something that is happening, it can mean a mentally preparing oneself to do or face something difficult. Isn't God comical with the way he writes things? Peace be still. What if we rewrote peace be still instead of S-T-I-L-L, S-T-E-E-L, still? What if the statement read, peace be still? You're commanding your peace to be fabricated into the structural properties that form your life. What if you commanded your peace to be what mentally prepares you to face something difficult? What if that's what you decided to let it be? How does that change your perspective when you're facing the storm? What if your life was already structured in a place where you can go, this is peace and I'm standing still because I know that He is here. I know that He is sleeping, but He's still present. There's something at peace when you're still young and your parents are home, but they're sleeping, but you don't have to talk to them or hang out with them, but they're here. But then they go out on a date night or something and you're home alone. There's a whole nother set of feeling. You're not speaking to them. They're not awake, but they're there. And the feeling that they're there is a security that surpasses none other. He is there, and as long as you notate that, He doesn't have to wake up. He is there for you. He's there. So let me go back to the beginning of this story. There's a very important piece of information that we kind of skipped over on purpose to bring back to you, or I did at least. So who told them to get in the boat? Who had the audacity to tell these men to get on this boat that there was going to be a storm? Jesus did, It was His idea. He said, let's get in this boat. Let's go across this place and get together. He didn't tell them that there was a storm coming. He didn't warn them that things were going to happen, though He knew, because He is all-knowing. He specifically said in verse 35, if you can throw that back up, let us pass into the other side. And you can just leave that verse up for a minute. Let us pass into the other side. I'm going to break that apart real quick for you English lesson. So let us, saying we are going to do something. Cross over or pass over, that is what we are doing. To the other side, that is where we are going. That, to me, is a command and a promise. That is not saying we're going to act like we're possibly going to get there or we might get there. It says we're going to get there. So that tells me that Jesus didn't say how they'd make it there. They just, He also didn't say what might rise between a promise and a fulfillment. But Jesus gave a promise, and He said it's going to happen. And then He gave this amazing moment in the Bible where a huge storm came, and they thought they were going to be done. And then He woke up, and He said the words, peace be still. Peace be still. It's a commandment. The Bible says that there is life and death in the power of the tongue. The Bible also says that we have the power to speak things over our lives. And if I can speak life into somebody, I can speak peace into my situation. I can speak peace over my dad having heart surgery. I can speak peace over someone else's life. I can speak peace to a child who is on the couch in my office crying about things going on. Because I have the power that Jesus Christ has enabled me with. It's by His name that we can do things. I'm challenging you that when the storms get overwhelming, when they feel undeserving, when you feel alone, to be still, as in being present as well as being planted. Be the still of the building. Be firm. The Bible commands us to be still and know that He is God. If the disciples would have been still in that moment and knew that He was God, how would that have changed the story for us to know how to deal through our storms? If the disciples were perfect, then what were we supposed to live up to? No, I think this story perfectly happened in that moment so that we knew, God knew that I was going to have situations this week and that I needed to know to be still, be planted where I was, because God is in control, especially when I'm out of control or the situation is out of control. God will always be in control. So, peace, be still. I want to thank you guys for listening and tuning in to me this morning. I absolutely can't wait to worship with you guys at 10:30 with a great word from Pastor Clifton.